How's it going, Rogues Gallery, and welcome to another Shadowverse Evolve video here on Red Zone Rogue. My name is Kel, and I'm one of your official Shadowverse Evolve English Edition ambassadors, and today we have the new installment of an ongoing series where I do a big deck tech deep dive going into every single deck for this competitive season, this time for Verdant Steel. We have 9 decks. This is 9. I said that this was 8. This is 9. We're gonna leave that in. But yeah, we have 9 decks to talk about. These aren't literally every single deck in the competitive season. We have all 6 of the new decks from Verdant Steel, 3 Machina, and 3 of the Natura decks, as well as 3 decks that I have upgraded from the previous meta to this current one with cards from Verdant Steel. But honestly, I think if I counted all of my decks total, because there's a lot of decks that didn't really get much, like Dshift Dragon, for example. I think I have 19 decks or something like that. But today, we're going to go over 9 decks. We have a couple honorable mentions, too, that I think are still really, really good from the Idolmaster Cinderella Girls collaboration set. So we'll kind of like do those as an honorable mention, too. But without further ado, this is going to be a long video. Kick back, relax. Check out the timestamps below if there's any specific deck you want to check out, and let's get started. All right, let's do the honorable mentions first because they're going to be really, really quick. The honorable mentions today are the Idolmaster decks, specifically the cool deck and the cute deck. And these haven't had any changes, at least for me, since the previous deck tech deep dive. This one is the cool deck. It is your quintessential all-in aggro strategy. It's very, very fast, very, very strong, really synergistic, and also one of the cheapest decks to build on the market. If you want a budget deck that's just really, really good and aggressive, you can't go wrong with the cool deck. It is still a meta threat, but it's not going to be included in this whole video because, well, like I said, it didn't get any upgrades since the last time, though. We do have these really cute Rin Shibuya sleeves. And then the other deck that I really enjoy is the cute deck. Now, the cute deck, I don't think it's quite as strong as the cool deck, just because this one's a little bit slower, more of a controlling, almost a reanimator style deck. I've featured this on the channel before. I think out of the two, this one is my favorite to play personally. But if you just want to pick one as kind of like what's the better meta pick, it's probably the faster cool deck. But this one is also really, really cheap and affordable to build. So if you just want, again, a budget build that's strong, competitive, but affordable, I think the cool deck is also, or rather the cute deck is also an option. You can see that I themed all of my sleeves. That's going to be a thing going forward for the rest of this video. All right, let's kick off the proper list with Machina. Well, specifically, Abyss Machina. Now, this is one of my 3 favorite decks of this format to play. Well, to be honest, I really, really enjoy all of the new decks, all of the Machina decks, and the Natura decks. But this one in particular, well, you'll see why. So, yeah, I very much enjoy this. We're rocking the Orcus sleeves as well as the Techno Lord sleeves, and yeah, these ones for the Evo points. This deck is essentially a kind of a high roll aggro list. We've got Urias as our leader there. Note, you're not allowed to use Japanese cards. I just ran out of Evo points, so I'm using these ones instead. But you're not technically allowed to use Japanese cards in like competitive events. I'm buying more Evo points, just give me a break. We have all of our tokens, so I would recommend getting a handful of tokens for every single one of the new decks from Verdant Steel. You're going to need a lot of tokens. And then here's the actual deck. Now, once again, I do have deck lists in the description down below if you'd like to kind of check out the deck lists as a whole. But we're kind of going to do some broad strokes here and just talk about what the decks do rather than every single individual card, though we'll likely cover almost all the cards. So this deck really, really functions and centers around Mono here, which is one of my favorite Shadowverse characters of all time. I love Mono. She's a really efficient card, and like I said, this is why this deck is so high rolly. She's a 2-drop 3/2, and then she can Evo for 1, but you can only Evo her if there are 5 Machina followers on your field. But she kind of comes with a friend, so you can banish 2 Machina cards in your cemetery, and you can summon an Assembly Droid token, which are really, really good, by the way. They're 1-drop 1/1s, and then you can activate them and bury 3 Machina followers, and select an enemy follower in their field and deal it 5 damage. These are way better than digital. And you can only activate that once per turn. So she comes with basically 2 bodies, right? So you need to get 3 others. But once you do, and you can Evo her, she becomes a monster. She becomes a 5/4 with Storm, and you can pay an additional 2 play points and banish an Alpha Drive from your cemetery, and then give each Machina follower on your field +2/+2 and Rush, and you can only activate that once per turn. Now, she is a Machina follower, and it doesn't say each other Machina follower, so she becomes a 7/6 with Storm, and if you had anything else on the field, you can just OTK your opponent. Just absolutely, dumpster them out of nowhere. Alpha Drive is a card that we just play in the main deck. So this is Alpha Drive. It's a Machina Demon spell. 1-drop. It says, choose one of the following. Select a Machina follower in your cemetery and add it to your hand. Or select a Mono Garnet Rebel in your cemetery and summon it. So you can, if you have your Mono in your cemetery, and then you have Alpha Drive in your hand, you play your Alpha Drive, summon your Mono, and then after you evolve, you need to banish the Alpha Drive from your cemetery, which you just played. So it's already there. It's almost like the cards were designed to work together. So that's kind of like our big combo here with the deck. Just play a bunch of dudes and then kill our opponent with Mono. And that's kind of what we want to do. We want to go all in on this strategy, and it can really, really end the game quite quickly. We do have some top end, and as you can see, I kind of like this deck a lot. I splurged a little bit and got the 3 Techno Lords. Now, Techno Lord is a card we're going to see again in other Machina decks because this card's cracked. It's a 6-drop 6/6 Fanfare. Banish 3 Machina cards from our cemetery, and then choose up to 2. You can blow up an enemy follower, which is really good. You can blow up an enemy amulet, which is really good. You can deal 3 damage to the enemy leader, also really good at finishing the game. Or you can search your deck for another Machina card not named Techno Lord, and then you put it in your hand and then shuffle your deck. So you can either tutor for a Machina card, 3 damage to our opponent, blow up an amulet, blow up our opponent's face. Or rather, blow up an opponent's a follower. Really, really, really good. This is kind of our top end. All the Machina decks are going to run that. All the Machina decks are also going to run our Mecha Gun Wielder. It's a 1-drop 1/2, and on Fanfare we can either put a Assembly Droid or Repair Mode into our EX area, and then when it dies, we discard a Machina card and draw a card. This deck we always want to do Assembly Droids unless we really need the life for some reason. What the Repair Mode does, by the way, is it just heals you for 1. Quick speed, heal you for 1. So we have 3 of those. Bone Drone's really, really good on turn 2 because it's just a 2-drop 2/2, and last words you summon an Assembly Droid. And why that is so good is because we just need dudes on the field so we can flip, or so we can Evo our Mono. That's what we really want to do. We want to have 3 dudes on our field on the turn that we play Mono, and then we can get our extra dude from Mono, Evo, and then kill our opponent. This card's really good for that. We have Robo Goblin, pretty good as well. 2-drop 2/2. Evos for 1, and last words put a Repair Mode into our EX area. The Evo version, we're running 2 of the Evo Robo Goblin. Is a 3/3. On evolve, summons an Assembly Droid token, and then last words put a Repair Mode into our EX area. So he's really good because he's 2 bodies, right? He is 2 mechs, or Machina cards, right? In 1 body, which is why he's really, really good for this deck, because we want to get that crucial 3 before we play our Mono. We have a 3 of Rulenai, just fantastic. We do have a little bit of self-mill, not a ton, but we do have a little bit to activate that Necro Charge. So we can get that Necro Charge and just blow up something when we play him. But we also Evo our Rulenais. Once again, not the last time you'll see Rulenai. And when we Evo Rulenai, each opponent discards a random card, and then while this is on our field, any spell an opponent plays costs 1 more. The random is really important because we do see a lot of decks running Trail of Light now. And if they get to choose to discard, they will just discard Trail of Light and then draw a card to replace it. So discard in this meta is actually really bad, but random discard is good. So that's why Rule and I still played. Next up, we have another staple for us, Nicola, Forbidden Strength. 3-drop 3/3, Evos for 1, and on Fanfare, bury the top 2 cards of our deck. Like I said, we do have some ways to help with our Necro Charge. Nicola is real good. Nicola and Ania are both kind of cracked. So the Nicola Evo, he's a 4/4, and he says, on Evolve, select a Machina card that costs 2 or less in our cemetery and put it into our EX area. It costs 2 less to play this turn. That's any Machina card, doesn't have to be a follower, but it's a great way to get our mono if we need mono. And it's also a great way to play any of our other Machina cards, like Nicola's Forbidden Art, which says, select an enemy fall on the field and deal it 4 damage. If we have a Nicola on the field, deal it 6 damage, and this happens to be a 2-drop. So this is a way, if you have this, you can get this back, and then just, you know, hit something for 6. And Nicola himself is a 4/4, so pretty good. Yeah, on the Evo. We also have Mecha Wing Angel, fantastic card for Machina, 3-drop 3/3 with Ward. Fanfare, put an Assembly Droid or Repair Mode into our EX area. Once again, we really want the droids. And then also you can activate this and select an enemy fall on the field and deal it 4 damage. And you can activate only if there are 5 Machina cards in our cemetery. This card's really good at just killing stuff, and it also just has Ward. Really solid card. And then, like I said, we have Ania Amethyst Rebel. She is super good. She's a 4-drop 2/2. Bad stats, however, on Fanfare, we get to search our deck for any Machina follower that costs 3 or less, summon it, and then shuffle our deck, and then when she dies, we heal +2. So what's so good is we can go grab... So this is what you would do if you have 5 play points, right? So with 5 play points, you play your Ania, go and get your Nicola, and then you can immediately Evo your Nicola with the extra play point, and then get another card back from your cemetery with the Evo effect on Nicola. So essentially, with just 5 play points and Ania, you can fill up the board with 3 followers. You can do herself, Nicola, and then whatever Nicola gets back, just as long as it's a 2-drop or less. So you can get a Goblin, you can get a Mono, you can, you know, get whatever as long as it's 2-drop or less. So Ania is really good. She's one of the followers that just helps refill your board out of nothing. Quite strong. Yeah, so like I said, really good on really good on 5 play points. And then we have, I've jumbled this up, I think. Yeah. So we have our classic Soul Conversion, right? The last couple cards are like pretty standard except for our core here. So we have Soul Conversion, just destroy one of our followers and draw 2 cards. Really solid. We have our Forbidden Art that we talk about. Really good removal. This is going to be a really good removal going forward. I think Nicholas played in a lot of decks that just aren't Machina as well. We have Whispers of a Dream, another staple. Blow up an enemy follower that has 3 costs or less, and then we also bury the top card of our deck, so really good at filling up our Necro Charge. And then we have the Sanguine Core, which is a 1-drop. This is a really good turn 1 play, by the way. 1-drop Fanfare, look at the top of your deck, 2 of your deck. You can reveal a Machina card from among them, add it in your hand, put the rest on the bottom, and then you can activate this and bury this and put an Assembly Droid token into your EX area. Activate if there are at least 5 Machina cards in your cemetery. So it's just a great way of making sure you have another card in your hand and then making a little droid. Like I said, you want to get that 3 crucial Machina cards so you can kind of pop off and do your mono stuff. Really high roll deck, but when it works, you can just kill your opponent out of nowhere. Yeah. Next up, we have Machina Rune. This is a really interesting take on the rune craft because, well, we run like no spells. This is all followers for the sleeves. You know, we got some lovely sleeves here. I don't have themed ones, but we still have some runecraft sleeves. Got Daria here, a bunch of tokens, like I said. Get your pair modes, get your assembly droid tokens, and Yeah, so this deck is a heavy ally-focused runecraft deck. We do have some spells, but not much. Most of the deck centers around big tempo swings and cards that just fill the board with stuff like Belphomet. We are running back Techno Lords. This is the Techno Lord that doesn't have the Robo, the Mecha Musume. We do have some non-Machina cards because they're just really good value. But most of this is just like Machina value. And then the big headliner of this deck, other than Belphomet, is Tetra. She's really, really good and kind of helps you do this kind of big wombo combo-esque type of turn. So yeah, let's talk about the deck a little bit here. So some of the non followers that we have Delta Cannon. This is kind of like our new Angelic Snipe. It's a 1-drop, deals 2 damage to an enemy follower at quick speed. But if we have a Tetra on the field, we can pay 1 and put this card from our cemetery into our EX area. You can kind of machine gun stuff down with this, with Tetra, because, well, let's show what Tetra does, because she's a really important part of this deck, right? So here is Tetra. Pretty simple card, right? 3-drop, 3/3, Fanfare, put a repair mode in your EX area. And like I mentioned before, repair mode is just a 1-drop spell that you can heal your leader for 1. So we'll put that here. So we get one of these, right? Pretty simple. But you can Evo her for 1. When you Evo Tetra, now this is where things start popping off. She becomes a 4/4, and she says, while this card is on your field, any Machina card you play from your EX area costs 1 less. 4 times a turn, when you play a Machina card, select an enemy follower on the field and deal it 1 damage. So that makes all of our Machina cards, like our repair modes, in our EX area cost 1 less. So those are free. Delta Cannon is a Machina card, so it would also cost 1 less. Now, let me talk about Belphomet next, because he's the other really big reason why you'd want to play this deck. So Belphomet is a 7-drop 5/5. He has Rush, and he says, Fanfare, look at the top 5 cards of your deck. From among them, you may summon any number of Machina followers that cost total 6 or less. Put the rest on the bottom of your deck in any order. At the start of your end phase, give each other Machina follower on your field +1/+1. And so you can get any combination of something like, you can get 1 Techno Lord. You can go grab a Mechwing Angel and a Tetra. That would add up to 6. You can grab a Displacer Bot. You can grab 3 2-drops. Like, any combination, as long as they just add up to 6, summon them all. Really, really, really good. This is one of the cards that can just turn this game around if you are losing. Great card. Yeah, it got 7, but fantastic. All right, let's talk about some of the less exciting stuff real quick. So we have the Sagacious Core. It's a pretty standard one. You get to look at the top 2 cards of your deck. You can reveal a Machina card from among them, add it to your hand. We do have a couple whiffs that we'll talk about. Put the rest on the bottom, and then you can activate this, deal 1 damage to each enemy leader. And we can only activate this if we have at least 3 Machina cards in our EX area. So we can do a little bit of ping damage, but it's like a draw card, do a little bit of ping damage, not too bad. We have the Techno Lord. Like I said before, all of our Machina decks run 3F Techno Lord. This card's crazy. 6-drop, 6/6. You banish 3 Machina cards from your cemetery, and then you choose 2. You blow up a follower, you blow up an amulet, you deal your opponent 3 damage, or you go search your deck for any Machina card and add it to your hand. I don't know, like Belphomet or Tetra, something good. So yeah, quite good on that. We also have the Curse Crafter and the Demon Caller. Now these are cards that are in this deck that, you know, they're not Machina. You have some other options here. I know some people really like running the, I think her name is like Saphira, because she's a very powerful Storm card. This version of the deck is opting for more board control rather than storm damage, but you can go for Saphira if you would like. So we just have the Curse Crafter here. This card is restricted to a 1-of because it's so powerful. It's a 4-drop 2/2. You summon, on Fanfare, you summon a Paper Shikigami, which is just a 2/2, and when it dies, you draw a card and discard a card. And then you can bury a Shikigami follower, and then you can shoot one of your opponent's stuff for 4. You can only do that once per turn. And then when you Evo him, he gives you more value. He becomes a 3/3. And then on Evo, you can select an enemy fall on the field and deal it 2 damage. And if you have at least 7 spells or Onmyoji cards in your cemetery, you deal 4 damage. We're only going to be doing 2, but it's still quite good, right? Because you get the Shikigami, and you get the 4 damage from the Shikigami if you sack it. So that's 6 damage, plus the 3 from him. So it's like that's 9 damage just off of a single card. Yeah, it's really, really good. And then we also have the Demon Caller here. And what the Demon Caller does is Demon Caller is a 3-drop 3/3. You can Evo for 1. And then whenever a Shikigami follower is put onto a field, you give it +1 attack and rush. And then when you Evo him, you get a Shikigami follower. So, which also has +1 attack and rush. So you have a 4/4 and a 3/2 with rush. So running 2 of them. That's just good. It's just good value, right? These are kind of a contentious choice. You don't really have to run these. You can go for more Machina stuff if you would like. I'm kind of, well, I'll be honest. I'm probably going to take these out and make some changes. I'm just waiting for my Saphirs. I ordered a few of the alternate art ones, the made ones. So once I get those, I'll probably be swapping them out. We have the Mechwing Angel, 3-drop 3/3 with Ward. This fills up our board with assembly droids, or rather, fills up our EX area with assembly droids or repair modes, and they go really well with Tetra, right? Because Tetra likes to play stuff for free from our EX area, or at least reduced by 1. We have the Displacer Bot, a really solid card, 3-drop 3/2 with Ward. He Evos for 2. Fanfare, look at the top 4 cards of your deck, and you can put a Machina card from among them into our EX area, and then you bot deck the rest. And then when you Evo the Displacer Bot, becomes a 4/3, still has Ward. And then on Evolve, you can select an enemy follower on the field, and deal it 2 damage, or deal it damage equal to 2 times the number of Machina cards in your EX area. Which is pretty good. So if you have a whole bunch, you can just really blow something up. So just a really, really solid, efficient card here. Really, really good, like, Evo effect, 2-for-1 kind of stuff. Even more because you basically get a draw a card too, more or less. Mechanized Lifeform is really good. It's a 2-drop 3/1. Fanfare, put a repair mode in your EX area, and then once per turn, when you play a Machina card at all, you get a draw card. It's not just on your turn. You can also do it on your opponent's turn, and the repair modes have quick speed too. So if you can play him, play another Machina card, draw a card, which is great, and then on your opponent's turn, you can do the repair mode and then draw another card. It's really good. This is a really, really efficient card. You have the Robo Goblin, which also puts repair modes into our EX area on last words. And then when you Evo him, you can either get, or no, you just summon a assembly droid, which is good. Just fills the board up with stuff. And then still on last words, you get a repair mode in your EX. So Robo Goblin, very solid. The Mecha Staff Sorcerer, once again, you can see a theme here. Fanfare, put an assembly droid or repair mode into our EX area, and you can activate him and banish a Machina card from the EX area. Select an enemy fall on the field and deal it damage equal to the number of Machina cards in your EX area. Once again, pretty solid. Helps with the removal. We have the Prototype Warrior. We have 3 Prototype Warriors. It's a 1-drop 2/1, so just a really nice low drop. Fanfare, choose one of the following. Put an assembly droid in your EX area, or if there are at least 3 Machina cards in your EX area, you can give this +1/+1 and rush. So it can be a 1-drop 3/2 with rush. Or you can just get another assembly droid. And then finally, we have the Mechagun Wielder, an absolute staple in all the Machina decks. 1-drop 1/2, put an assembly droid or repair mode token into your EX area. Last words, discard a Machina card, draw a card. Yeah, I like this deck quite a bit. It doesn't really play all that much like other Machina like other Runecraft decks, because it's really, really, follower focused rather than like spell focused. But you can still machine gun things down with Tetra, which is pretty cool. So yeah, I like this deck quite a bit. The Delta Cannon is a house. Next up, we have our final Machina deck and our only Havencraft deck of today. That's Machina Haven. Well, obviously, because it's the last Machina deck. Anyway, this is Machina Haven. This one's really, really interesting. This deck really cares about, actually kind of similar to the Runecraft version, it cares about having repair modes specifically in your EX area. This deck is all about filling up our EX area with repair modes. We have some ways to get assembly droids, but most of the time we're going to be getting those repair modes. So, yep. For the sleeves, we have the ones that come as a box topper, which are absolutely beautiful, as well as some Aether and other very nice sleeves here. Okay, so we have Lamonia, and she's a really good way to like wipe the board, but you need to have some stuff going on, right? This deck requires you to jump through a little bit more hoops than the other Machina decks, and it's not quite as explosive as the other two, but still really interesting, and I think really fun, especially if you like Haven. So we have the Augmentation Bestowal. This is a really good card for this deck. It's a 2-drop spell. Choose one of the following. You can banish 2 cards named Repair Mode from your EX area, and search your deck for a Machina follower that costs 3 or less, and you summon it. Or you can banish 5 cards named Repair Mode from your EX area, search your deck for any Machina follower that costs 6 or less, summon it, and shuffle your deck. So you can get a 3 or less or a 6 or less, right? Those are the sweet spots because the 6 or less goes and grabs us a Techno Lord, and 3 or less can grab like a Mechwing Angel. Let's see what else. Lamonia is like usually the other big 3 or less. We have some other ones too. We have like Robo Goblin, Robo Falcon, but not all the cards in this deck are Machina. We do have a bunch of non-Machina cards. So yeah, just a great card that just goes tutors for whatever you want. Keep in mind that because of Lamonia's board wipe ability, this could go and get a board wipe depending on the number of resources we have. All right, so we have Saintly Core. We have a core for all of the Machina decks. This is no different. We run a full playset of all the cores for all the decks because they're all pretty good. This is the Saintly Core, so we get to look at the top 2 cards of our deck. We can reveal a Machina from among them, put it in our hand, the rest on the bottom. They all do that. And this one, you bury it and put a repair mode in your EX area. You can only do this if you have at least 2 Machina followers on the field. So like I said, we care about putting repair modes in the EX area. Usually you want to sandbag them and wait to use them for the most opportune moment. We are running a single one of Aether of the White Wing. This card is just super great value. It's a 7-drop 3/5 with Ward and Fanfare. You go search your deck for any Haven follower with a different name than this card that costs less than your maximum play points, and then you just put it on the field. Keep in mind that has to be a Haven follower, so I can't go get our Techno Lords, but we can go get our new Lapis. We can go get Kaede. We can go get Father Refinement. We can get our Lamonia. So yeah, there's a good number of things we can get with this card. So it's a pretty solid like go tutor for a thing. So we have multiple ways to go tutor for our stuff. Once again, we have 3 Techno Lords. If you're watching this whole video without skipping around, you will know every single Machina deck I run 3 Techno Lords. It's just so good. 6-drop, 6/6, Fanfare, banish 3 Machina cards, and then you can choose 2. You can blow up a follower, blow up an amulet, deal 3 damage to your opponent, or go search for any card that's Machina that's not named Techno Lord. Put it in your hand. It's really good. Techno Lord's great. We're also running 2 of the new Lapis, Glorious Seraph. This is one of the non-Machina cards in the deck. It's a 5-drop 3/7 with Ward. Pretty annoying to get through. And it says, when this card leaves the field, you draw a card for every prayer counter on it. And then at the start of your end phase, select a card on our field, place a prayer counter on it, and then we heal 2. And so we're not running the Statue Seraph kind of combo in this deck. So we just put the counters on her. And yeah, just gain a bunch of life, and then when she dies, draw a bunch of cards. Yeah, pretty good. Great target to go get with Aether, because she's just a 7 defense ward. Speaking of wards, we have Kaede. So essentially this forms like a trifecta of wards that we can go get that are 5-drops. Kaede, less ward, but she just kills stuff. So she's a 3/5 with ward, and then on Fanfare, select an enemy from the field and banish it. And then, at the start of our end phase, if our leader's defense is 5 or less, which is quite tight, then we heal 5 and draw a card, which is really good. And she also has a lesson ability, but we're not doing the lesson stuff because this is not an Idolmaster deck, but still really good. I think some versions of this deck might want to run more of her. We're also running a single copy of Mechwing Angel. Like I said, all the Machina decks run this card. We're only running 1 in this deck, but I think there are versions of the deck where you can cut some of these other cards and then put more Mechwing Angels, but I think it's great. 3-drop 3/3, Fanfare, you can put a repair mode or assembly droid in your EX area. That's exactly what we want to do. And then we can activate it, select an enemy, fall the field, and deal 4 damage. But we can only do this if we have 5 Machina cards in our cemetery. The big reason why we don't run more of these is that we actually don't have a ton of Machina cards in the deck compared to all the other Machina decks, right? Because like out of the cards we've seen so far, we have 3, 4. We have at least 4 already that we've shown that aren't Machina cards, and then we have even more because we have Marlone. He's a Faith, not Machina, so that's 3 more. And then I know we have more as well. Yeah, we have Marcotte. She's a Zealot, also not Machina. So yeah, we have a bunch of cards that aren't Machina. So this is a little bit harder to pull off. We have Father Refinement. This dude is kind of a beast. He's a 5-drop 4/4 with Rush. Fanfare, put 2 repair modes in your EX area, and then you recover 2 play points. And then on strike, draw a card. If there are 5 cards named repair mode in your EX area, draw 2 cards. This dude is a house, and he's really, really good to get with. He's really, really good to get with our Aether, because he's just like, you immediately get your 2 repair modes, you get your 2 play points, and you can draw some cards. So yeah, we're running 3 of him. He's really good. We have Marlone, Light of Balance, 3-drop 3/3, Evos for 1. Fanfare, each player puts a repair mode in their EX area, so your opponent gets 1 too. And then on Evo, he becomes a 4/4, and it says, select an enemy following the field that costs X or less, and destroy it, where X equals the number of cards in your EX area. So once again, we want cards in our EX area. If we have 5, you can blow something 5 or less. But he immediately does 1 at least. So he's pretty good. We are running Ruby Falcon. We're running some Falcons, right? We got Ruby Falcon and Robo Falcon. We like our birds in this. So let's talk about the Robo Falcon first. So Robo Falcon is a 2-drop 1/3. Evos for 1, has Storm and Strike. We put a repair mode in our EX area. Then if there's at least 3 repair modes in our EX area, it gets +1 attack, which is good. Really efficient for only 2. It also evolves, so let's go check out the evolved Robo Falcon. Evolve Robo Falcon becomes a 2/4, and then on evolve, put a repair mode in our EX area, and then it has the same thing. Strike, put a repair mode in the EX area. Then if there's 3 or more, gets a +1. Yeah, it's really good. It's actually quite a lot of damage. And speaking of which, we are running Ruby Falcon, which is also quite a lot of damage. 3-drop 3/3, Evos for 1, has Ward. You can pay 2 to give it Storm, and then whenever another follower you control with Storm or Ward attacks, deal 1 damage to each enemy leader. And as you could tell, a lot of our stuff either has Storm or Ward. A bunch of these have Ward. So yeah, Ruby Falcon can trigger pretty easily. And then once it evolves, it's still a 4/4 with Ward, and then can still pay 2 to give it Storm, and it says select an enemy fall on the field and deal it 2 damage, which is pretty solid. And then also it still has the same ability to ping our opponent for 1 whenever a follower we control with Storm or Ward attacks. Yeah, good stuff with the Ruby Falcon. Okay, so here's one of the main reasons that you're playing Machina Haven, and that is Lamonia. I really like this card quite a bit. She's a 3-drop 3/2. She evolves for 7. However, you can banish a repair mode in your EX area, and she costs 1 less to evolve every time you do that. And you can do that multiple times in your turn. Also, when on Fanfare, you put a repair mode in your EX area. So if you have 5 repair modes in your EX area, and you banish all 5 of them with her effect, then her Evo only costs 2. What do you get after jumping through all those hoops? Well, you blow up your opponent's board. On evolve, destroy each enemy follower on the field. And then you can also pay 0 and summon a Machina follower that costs 2 or less in your cemetery. You can only activate that once per turn. So you blow up your opponent's board, you have a 5/4, and then you can summon a 2-drop Machina card. Yeah, really good. Yeah, I like her a lot. She's like the reason I really like this deck. We are running Robo Goblin, pretty simple card, 2-drop 2/2. Last words, put a repair mode in your EX area, and then when you evo him, you get a little robot. You get a little assembly droid, and he becomes a 3/3. So yeah, not too bad. Kind of doing what we want to do when he dies. This card's pretty good. It is one of our non-Machina cards. It's a 2-drop 1/3 with Ward. On Fanfare, you draw a card, and if there are 5 cards in your EX area, instead, search your deck for any card and add it to your hand, then shuffle your deck. So I may have like sandbagged that a little. She is very, very good. At the base level, she's a 2-drop 1/3 with Ward that just draws you a card. And if you have a 5, you know, repair modes or whatever in your EX area, she just goes tutors for anything that you want. She's really good. We're also running our Iron Knuckle Nun, 2-drop 2/3 with Ward. Fanfare and Last Words put a repair mode into our EX area. So she just does exactly what we want to do. And then finally, we have Mecha Gun Wielder. Like I said, every Machina deck runs a full playset of these. 1-drop 1/2, put in an Assembly Droid or a repair mode, which is what we'll be choosing for this deck, in our EX area. And then Last Words, discard a Machina card and draw a card. And so yeah, like I said, this deck really, really functions around Lamonia, kind of popping off, blowing up our opponent's board. We have ways to kill our opponent with our Falcons, some kind of like top-end ways to slow things down. This one, out of all the Machina decks, is the one that struggles the most in the current meta. But if you like Haven, hey, I'd say give it a shot. I think it's really fun. All right. Moving on to the Natura archetype with my favorite Natura deck and one of my favorite decks of this format, we have Natura Sword. This deck is so sweet and definitely right up my alley. Here we have our sleeves for this deck. Really like these Alvida like pirate sleeves. Really cool stuff there. All right, our leader of choice is my boy Albert, and well, for the Natura decks, you want a bunch of Natura Great Tree tokens because you're gonna want a bunch of them. This deck is essentially like an aggro mid-range style deck. Another thing you're gonna see a lot in all of these Natura decks is Trail of Light, and this is why I think discard strategies are just really bad right now, because Trail of Light says when this card is discarded, draw a card, or you can play it for 2 and draw a card. And why that's so good is because the Naturan Great Tree says when this card leaves the field, draw a card, then discard a card, and you can pay 1 to bury it. So essentially what you do is then you crack your tree, you draw a card, and then you discard your Trail of Light to draw another card. And that's why all the Natura decks run a full playset of Trail of Light. So, yep. That's why discard in this format's real bad. This deck is pretty straightforward. It's kind of just, like I said, a mid-rangey aggro deck. We just want to put trees down, and we want to kill our opponent. There are some staples in Natura, like we saw with Machina, like the Colorful Cook. This is going to be in every single Machina or every single Natura deck, and in some decks that also are not Natura because it's so good. She's a 1-drop 1/2. Fanfare, put a Natura Great Tree onto our field or our EX area, and then we heal for 1. And when it dies, we discard a Natura card and draw a card. Yeah, really good. Run that in all the Natura decks. We have Tempered Aether. It's just a 1-drop, and we put a Natura Great Tree token into our field or our EX area. A lot of our more powerful cards care about having the trees. We have King's Might. King's Might goes really well with Balion. In fact, both of our spells go with the respective followers. So let me go grab Balion to kind of go with this. So we'll showcase Balion. We'll do King's Might first. So it's just a removal spell, right? It's a 3-drop. It just says select an enemy fall on the field and deal it 4 damage. However, while playing this, we can activate 2 cards named Naturan Great Tree on our field, and then it costs 2 less to play, and it also costs 1 less to play if we have a Balion. So if you have a Balion and we have 2 trees and we activate the trees, this is free, which is pretty good. Speaking of Balion, Balion is really, really powerful. It's a 3-drop 3/3 with an Evo for 1. He also has Ward, and on Fanfare we can put a tree on our field or EX area. A lot of these ones let us pick where we want to put it. Putting it on the field is generally pretty good, but you don't want to have too many because they can clog up your board. I would say no more than 2 at any given time. And then when we Evo Balion, he just becomes even better. He becomes a 4/4, still has Ward. And then on Evolve, look at the top 4 cards of our deck. We can take 2 Natura cards from among them, put them in our EX area, and then we put the rest on the bottom of their deck. And we can banish 2 cards named Naturan Great Tree from our field, select a Natura follower on our field, and give it a permanent +2 attack. So he basically draws us 2 cards, and then we can pump stuff up, and he's just nuts. Like, he's kind of like Alice from like the Fable decks. Baleon's really, really good. It's like so much value, and he's only a 3-drop. Next up, we also have the Princess's Strike. This goes directly with Mistalina, which is a crazy card. Princess's Strike is really simple. It's just a 1-drop quick speed. Select an enemy fall on the field and deal it 2 damage, so it's like an angelic snipe. However, if there's a Mistalina on our field, we deal it 6 damage. Just a 1-drop, 6 damage if we have Mistalina. Well, it synergizes with Mistalina because Mistalina is a 6-drop, 4/6 with Storm, Fanfare. Select a Princess's Strike in our cemetery and play it for 0 play points. So if we have one of these in our cemetery, you play Mistalina, and she's just like, 6 damage or something, which is really good. And then you can also activate 2 trees on your field and give her a permanent +3 attack and give your leader +2 health. I first read this as you give her +3 attack and +2 health. No. She doesn't pump her health up. She heals your leader, which is actually really, really good. So just doing 2 trees gives her 7 attack. If you have 4 trees for whatever crazy reason, you can give her 10 attack, or have her have 10 attack, and she has Storm. She's like nuts. She's really good. Speaking of which, we have Viridia Magna. This is just a crazy, annoying card to deal with. She's a 4-drop 0/4 with Rush, Assail, and Bane. And the way this works in Shadowverse Evolve is Bane just means if it's in combat, so it doesn't need to deal damage. That 0 will kill anything because it has Bane. And Assail means she can attack anything. She also has Last Words. Banish a Great Tree from your field or EX area, and then you put this card into its owner's field engaged and evolve it. If you didn't evolve it, you banish it. So basically, when this dies, she comes back. If you banish a tree, she comes back engaged and evolved. And so, what is she when she evolves? Her evoed version is a 4/4 with Ward, and then Last Words, heal for 2. This is so much value. You kill something, she comes back, she's a 4/4, and when she dies again, you heal for 2. Viridia Magna, very, very good. Very, very annoying. We're running our classic 3 of Gemstaff Commander, my favorite card in Sword. Simple, it's a 3-drop 3/2 that lets you search your deck for any Swordcraft follower. That's basically every card in our deck except for Viridia Magna, and I think we have a couple other neutral followers, but it's like, not too much. Not too bad. We can go search for our Baleon. We can go search for our Tsubaki. We're running a 1 of Tsubaki, partially because I pulled the really nice Ultimate Rare version, but partially because I think she's really good as a 1 of. Because she's a 3-drop 4/3, and if you have 5 sword followers in your cemetery, on Fanfare you can select an enemy follower and just blow it up. And then if you have 10 sword followers in your cemetery, she also has Storm. So if you have one of those conditions, and you have like maybe 6 play points, you can be like, Gemstaff Commander, Tsubaki, blow up your thing, smash your face for 4. Or you can go get a Swift Tigress, who's a little bit easier to have Storm. She's a 3-drop 4/3, same stats as Tsubaki, but a little bit different. On Fanfare, you can activate one of your Natura Great Trees, and then you just give her Storm. So, yeah, you just have a tree on the field, activate the tree on Fanfare, give her Storm. Pretty good, running 2 of them. Desert Pathfinder is another one of our Nataran staples. You're going to run this in all your Nataran decks. It's a 2-drop 2/3, and then on Fanfare, you can put a Great Tree onto your field or your EX area. Then, if you have at least 5 Natura cards, I don't know how I keep saying Nataran, it's Nataran. If you have 5 Natura cards on your field and or EX area, look at the top 3 cards of your deck. You can reveal a Natura card from among them, put it in your hand, and put the rest on the bottom of your deck in any order. So that's basically any card in the deck from the most part. And so yeah, you just need 5 Nataran cards, combination on the field, and in play. And this card does 2 by itself, right? It itself is a Nataran, and then it also makes a tree. So you just need 3 others. Yeah, really good. We also have the Lupine Axeman, which is good at just killing stuff. 2-drop 2/3. Fanfare, you can put a Great Tree in your field or EX area, and you can activate this card and any number of trees you have on the field, and you select an enemy following the field and deal it damage equal to the number of trees. So If you play this and activate it and you do 2 trees, it'll deal 2 damage. If you have 3 trees, it'll deal 3 damage, so on and so forth. Being a 2-drop, really solid. We have 2 final cards that are not Naturan, but just really good. We have Octress, and I'm not really going to go over Octress because we've talked about Octress literally in every single set since she came out. But she's really good, gives you a lot of really, really good value, steals our opponent's stuff, makes them cheaper, really solid. Running 2 in the main, and then 2 in the Evo deck. And then finally we have my boy Leod, who's just the most annoying card of all time. He's a 2-drop 1/3. You can Evo for 2, and then while he's reserved, so not engaged, while he's reserved, he has Intimidate and Aura, so he cannot be attacked and he cannot be targeted. And it says at the start of your end phase, select an enemy fall on the field and deal it 1 damage. So he just constantly pings stuff for 1 damage. Well, he can do a little bit more than that too, because when he's evolved, same effect. While he's reserved, he has Intimidate and Aura. And then he says, on evolve, select an enemy leader or follower on the field and deal it 2 damage. You can actually kill your opponent with that effect, which is pretty nice. And then it says, at the start of your end phase, select an enemy fall on the field and deal it 1 damage. Yeah, just super annoying. And also he's a 2/4. Yeah, I like this deck a lot. It can be super aggressive where you have turns where you can pump up Mistelina to do like a bunch of damage. You have tons of ways to sequence things to get a lot of value out of your cards. I like this deck a lot. If you like decks that have a lot of different play patterns and lines of thought, this is a really good deck for that. And also a deck that can kind of pivot from being a really aggressive deck into a mid-range deck or vice versa. Yeah, really, really like the Natura Sword. Continuing with the Natura decks, we have Natura Forest. And this is another deck that I believe to be one of the strongest in the game right now. So if you like Forest, if you like Natura, well, this is a good one for you because this deck is pretty sweet. I'm not going to re-go over all of the tokens and everything, but yes, you'll need plenty of trees for this. Though, we will go over the sleeves because, hey, that's what we're doing. So these ones I do have a little bit of them, a little bit in theme. We have some Latica sleeves, which is great. I've been sandbagging these for a while, waiting to finally use these Latica sleeves because me, like everyone else, I'm a big fan. We also rocking the Orisa sleeves, which is great. So, yeah. All right. So this deck is a really, really strong deck. All of the Natura decks, I believe, are very powerful. This one can do crazy burst damage out of nowhere, very similar to the way that the Swordcraft deck can. It's also very resilient. We are running a full set of Trail of Lights. Like I said, all of the Natura decks run these because, hey, we get to discard a card from our tree, and so this just works really well with that because we get to draw a card instead of actually, losing a card. So when this is discarded, draw a card. Good stuff. All right, so send them packing. Let's go find Latica, and we'll talk about Latica first because she's what really makes this deck pack a huge punch. So Latica is a 5/5 for 4, really, really good stat lines. You can evolve her for 1, but only if you've played at least 5 other cards this turn. However, she says whenever a Naturan Great Tree is put onto your field, recover 1 play point. So what you want to do is you want to basically play a bunch of these trees all at once, and they're essentially free because every time you play one, she recovers a play point, which is really good. You play 5 of them, you can play them and then crack them and then play them and then crack them, yada, yada, yada. And then you can evolve her, and then when you evolve her, she becomes a 6/6 with Storm, and she still has the same ability. Whenever a Naturan Great Tree is put in your field, recover a play point. Why you'd want to do this? Well, we have other wombo combo card effects like Anastasia and like her signature spell, Send 'em Packing. Now this card, okay, I'll just read it. It's a 0-drop spell. Select a Latica the Stoneclaw on your field and give it +1/+1. Combo 5. So if you've done 5 cards, played 5 cards, deal damage equal to its attack to each enemy follower on the field. So if you do that, if you Latica and then you play a bunch of great trees, like say 5 great trees, then you evolve her into a 6/6, and then play Send 'em Packing. She's a 7/7 with Storm that then deals 7 damage to all of your opponent's stuff, probably clearing their board and letting you deal an absurd amount of damage directly to their face. So very strong, very, very strong. Latica is kind of like what can hold this deck together, but she's not the only thing going on in here. I do want to mention, let's go grab Anastasia next, because we have a bunch of other cards, but Anastasia is another really, really nice one for kind of like this wombo combo stuff. So Anastasia is a 5-drop, 2/4. Fanfare, recover 2 play points, and then whenever you play a card during your turn, if it's the 3rd one you've played, recover 2 play points. If it's the 5th one, give each follow on your field +1/+1. So you can see how that works really, really well with Latica, who lets you just, jam out all of your trees and recover a bunch of play points. She recovers even more play points and then pumps the squad. Really, really good. Anastasia and Latica are like best friends. Don't let your opponent get these 2 cards on the field at the same time, because they can really, really pop off. Let's see, any other crazy stuff? We'll just kind of go through the deck as it is, because there's a lot of the stuff that you'll see in a lot of the Natura decks. In fact, here, let me pull out the Cook and the Camel. So we have the Colorful Cook, which lets us put a great tree on our field or EX area and then heal for 1, and then last words, draw a card. Like I said, you put this in every single Natura deck, 3 ofs. Same with the Desert Pathfinder. He's got the Camel. You put this in every single Natura deck. Fanfare, you can put a tree on your field or EX area. Then if you have at least 5 Naturan cards on your field and or EX area, you look at the top 3 cards of your deck, take any Natura card, put it in your hand, and then you put the rest on the bottom. So yeah, just a great card. Draws you a card, makes a tree. Put those in all your Natura decks. Let's see. Any other staple? Yeah, there's a bunch of other staples, but let's just kind of like go through here. So we have Fertile Aether. You put a tree on your EX area. Combo 3, put 2 instead, and you heal for 2. We're just running 2 of these, but it's a great way to stock up on our trees. We have the big boy Primal Giant. It's a 9-drop, but not really. It says when this card is discarded, you put a tree in your EX area. So if you discard this to your tree, you get a tree, which is great. And then when playing this card, bury 4 Natura cards, then this card costs 4 less to play. So if you have 4 trees in your field, you can bury 4 trees, and they also get their final thing where you draw a card and discard a card. And then this costs 4 less to play, so it's only a 5-drop, 7/7. And then Fanfare, select a forest follower that costs 5 or less in your cemetery, and summon it. Hey, you know what costs 5 or less? Everything. We can get Anastasia, we can get Latica. Those are usually the options that you want to get. But yeah, then you'll have a 7/7, and then also Latica, and then or Anastasia. So yeah, big old Primal Giant Chungus. We're also bringing back Cassiopeia for this deck because, well, we draw a lot of cards, and then we have ways to keep our hands full. So she's a 5-drop, 4/5, and then on Fanfare, select any number of enemy followers on the field and deal X damage divided between them, where X equals the number of cards in your hand and EX area, which is really good because we're going to be putting a lot of trees in our EX area. So it's a really good way to wipe our opponent's board if we don't have the whole Latica Send 'em Packin' thing. We're also running the Blossom Spirit. This is a really great new card that's going to run in a lot of Forest decks. It's a 3-drop, 2/3. You can Evo for 1, Fanfare, put a tree or fairy into your EX area. So this goes well in both Natura decks and Fairy decks. And then when you Evo her, she becomes a 3/4. And then on Evolve, select an enemy fall on the field and deal it 2 damage. And if you have 3 cards in your EX area, you deal 4 instead. So really good, just really, really good value. Get a fairy or a tree, and then you get some nice 2-for-1 value with the Evo. So really solid card. You're gonna see that in the other deck, the other Forest deck. We also have the Avatar of Fruition. This card is also kind of cracked. 2-drop, 3/2. Fanfare, put a tree in your EX area, and then while this is on your field, any tree you play costs 1 less. So it makes all of the trees free. If you have Latica and the Avatar, your trees are 0 cost and then give you 1 play point. They literally increase the play points that you play. That's crazy. So there are some crazy combo potential with this deck to just kind of like dump tons of trees and just do absolutely wild stuff. Speaking of trees, we have the Ghastly Treant, 2-drop 3/2 or 2-drop 2/3. Fanfare, put a tree in your EX area, and then you can activate it to banish a tree from your field to give your leader +3. So you can just, you know, yeet your trees to heal 3. It's really good. It's actually really, really solid. We'll talk about this one next. Yeah, we're bringing back the Ancient Elf, right? So Ancient Elf is a 2-drop 2/2 from the original first base set. You can evo it for 1. It has Ward, and on Fanfare you can return another card from your field to its owner's hand, and then give this card +1/+1. And then when you evo, it becomes a 3/3, still with Ward, and then you return another card in your field to your hand and give it +1/+1. So this can be a 5/5 with Ward, and you can bounce 2 things to your hand, and you can bounce stuff to replay their effects, like Cassiopeia. Desert Pathfinder is a really solid one. You can do it with the Cook. Yeah, or if you just want to get rid of their trees, you can, you know, use it for the tree, because it works with the tree, because the tree says when it leaves the field, you draw a card and discard a card, and so returning it to your hand causes it to leave the field. So, yep, works well with the tree, and as well as, you know, replaying other stuff. And then the final card in the deck is the Forest Hermit, a really solid card. 1-drop 1/1, evos for 1. Fanfare, put a tree in your EX area. And then when you evo the Hermit, he's a 2/2, and it says select a Natura card in your cemetery and add it to your hand. Yeah, great. You get a tree, bring something back from your hand. It's really good. Yeah, this deck is quite good. I think a lot of people would say that the Natura Forest is one of the best decks in the format, and I would agree. I think this deck is really good and has a lot of really high roll potential to do crazy, absurd combo things where you start having like like stuff where you're just playing a tree and cracking it and drawing a card and discarding a card and playing a tree and then cracking it and playing another thing that makes a tree and then just kind of like popping off and then evoing your Latica, 7 damage to all your opponent's stuff, punch him in the face for 7, maybe even 8 if you have punch him in the face for 8 if you have Anastasia on the field and she pumped up Latica as well. Yeah, it's good. So that is the Forest Natura deck. We have one more Natura deck. Alright, and the final Natura deck of the video, as well as the final new deck of the video before going over 3 decks that got upgrades this set, we have Natura Dragon. This is a pretty strong deck as well, and has some new ramp. Yeah, this deck is sweet, and I get to use my new Forte leader, which is excellent. Speaking of excellent, check out the sleeves. I gotta finally crack out the alternate art Desert Pathfinder camel sleeves, which is really cool. Been sandbagging these for a little while, as well as these cute Cook Shadowverse sleeves that I picked up at Anime Expo, and then of course some Forte sleeves. This one works really well because, as you'd guess, since we're Natura, we are running the Cooks. So, yeah, let's get to it. This is an interesting one. This is a deck that I have kind of tweaked a little bit from what I've seen a lot of people run. I'm not running the same as a lot of other people. I'm running a more storm-heavy version because I'm running Misha, and I'm not running Oguri Cap. So yeah, this is gonna be an interesting one. So let's kind of set the Evo deck aside and let's get through all of the stuff that you see in every single that I feel that are like staples for either Dragon or well. Here, let me just pull these aside. All right, so we have the Colorful Cooks, we have the Desert Pathfinders, and we have the Trail of Lights. These 3 cards, that are 9 cards, you put in every single Natura deck. You've seen them in all the other Natura decks. If you've watched the whole video, you'll see them here. You just put them here because they're so good, you run them in every deck, right? So the Cook is a 1-drop 1/1. You put a tree in your field or EX area, you heal for 1, and then when it dies, you discard a Natura card, draw a card. It's great, you run it in all the decks. The Pathfinder, you put a tree in your field or EX area. Then if you have at least 5 Natura cards between your field and EX area, you look at the top 3 cards, take a Natura card, put it in your hand, press on the bottom. Yep, that's great. And then Trail of Light, when it's discarded, you draw a card, or you can pay 2 and draw a card. And this is so good because the trees stick around, and when they leave the field, you draw a card and then you discard a card, and you can pay 1 to bury this, and you have other ways to get rid of them too. But the general plan is you crack this, draw a card, and then you discard your Trail of Light to draw another card. Good stuff. We also have some staple dragon stuff. So let me take out the staple dragon stuff as well. I was gonna kind of lump these together, but we also have your staple dragon stuff. So we have our Dragon Oracle, which is a, staple, 2-drop, can either ramp us in play points or draw a card. So we really do care about ramping in this deck. We are running our one of Shenlong. Shenlong's quite good in this deck because, well, we do care about discarding cards because we are running the Trail of Light. And so Shenlong is a fanfare. We draw 2 cards, discard a card. It also has Ward. And then you, when you Evo Shenlong, as a 5/6 with Ward, and we heal for 5, which is great. The card is still restricted to 1 of per deck, so we are running the 1 of per deck. We are also running our 3 of Forte, which is, once again, a card that I basically put in every single Dragoncraft deck. And I think it's really good in this deck in particular because this is the Storm version of Natura Dragon, where it's not as much on the discard side. Like, I'm not running Dracomancer's Rites and Oguri Cap to kind of capitalize on that. This one's more aggressive. This is like, I want to ramp and then kill you with my Storm. And so, yes, we're running 4 of the Forte, 3 of the Forte, wish we could run 4, main deck, and then 3 of the Forte for our Evo deck. So yeah, 7 Storm damage to the opponent's face, just kill him dead. All right, let's talk about the other stuff that makes this deck work. Let's talk about Machina first, because Machina, like I said, is kind of an interesting include in this particular version of the deck. So she is a 2-drop 2/3. She evos for 2, and on strike, you select any neutral spell that costs 3 or less in our cemetery, and we play it for 0 play points. Now, we could technically select Trail of Light, because it's a neutral spell. So we could technically select Trail of Light to draw a card. That's not nothing. But what we want to do is we want to select Purgation's Blade. And Purgation's Blade is a 3-drop that says, select an enemy fall on the field, destroy it, and then give each Machina Hero of Purgation on our field +1 attack for every follower in our cemetery. So she blows something up, and then she pumps up Machina, like a permanent pump. It's even better when we Evo Machina. And when we Evo her, she becomes a 3/4, and then on Evolve, we can pay 5, bury the top 5 cards of our deck, and then if we do, we give her Storm, and then she still has the same as Strike ability, right? So essentially, if we wanted to do the full Machina combo, we play Machina for 2, we Evo her for 2, and then we can, on Evolve, pay that additional 5. So this is 9 play points to get a 3/4, and then you get to play your Purgation's Blade. You also get to bury the top 5 cards of your deck, so you can have more cards to pump with Purgation's Blade. Choose a 3/4 with Storm, and hopefully you deal like, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 damage to your opponent's face, and you kill him. And so, like, doing a turn where you do like Forte for 7 and then Machina is like real good. It's real good. Just a great way to kill our opponent. So, yep, like I said, this is the Storm version of this deck. Now, what about everything else? Well, we have a bunch of shenanigans with our Natura stuff. So we have Feral Ether. So you summon a Great Tree, and then if Overflow is active for you, you summon 3 Great Trees. You put them just straight into play. So these ones are not in EX area. You jam these straight into play. We also have Shadow's Corrosion and Voldane. So we'll talk about Voldane first, because he's a big part of the other portion of the deck. He's the how we kind of chip our opponent down, and then we can just storm him after we chip him down. That's kind of the general play pattern here. So Voldane is a 4-drop 4/4. He evos for 2 or 0 if you have at least 10 Natura cards in your cemetery, which, we have ways to put cards in our cemetery with Machina. And then just ways of drawing cards and discarding cards naturally through playing our trees. And then on Fanfare, you look at the top 3 cards of your deck, you can reveal a Natura from among them, put it in your hand, and then we bury the rest, which is relevant for his effect as well as for Machina. See, it all kind of synergizes, right? Well, what do we get when we Evo our Valdane? I like this because I have one of each of the Valdane Evos. Like I have just kind of like the regular one, then I have the SL, and then I also have the ultimate rare. So on Evo, Valdane is a 5/5, and we choose one of the following. Basically, he just lets us play a Shadow's Corrosion. But these are words of, you know, how you play it. So you can select an enemy fall on the field, you deal it 4 damage, search our deck for a Shadow's Corrosion and put it into our EX area, then shuffle the deck, or select a Shadow's Corrosion in our cemetery and play it for 0 play points. And Shadow's Corrosion deals 4 damage, so we're gonna deal 4 damage to an enemy thing no matter what, and then do the corrosion. So Shadow's Corrosion is a 3-drop. It cannot be played from the EX area. And it says, at the start of our end phase, if this card is in our EX area, deal 1 damage to the enemy leader for every 5 Natura cards in our cemetery. So we care about putting cards in our cemetery. So once again, that's why Machina very much synergizes with all this stuff. And it also says, if you just play it for normally from 3 from your hand, or if you play it from your cemetery from Valdane's Evo effect, select an enemy fall on the field, deal it 4 damage, and if there's a Valdane on your field, put this card into your EX area. So when you Evo Valdane, you basically do this. You deal 4 damage and it goes into EX area, regardless of, you know, where it is. So, yep, you gotta go do that. And then this is one of the ways, like I said, you just chip down your opponent. So after you Evo your Valdane, this will end up in your EX area one way or another. And then at the end of your turn, you just deal 1 damage to your opponent's face for every 5 Natura cards in your cemetery. And so you just kind of line these up in your EX area and just kind of start chipping your opponent down till you get to the point where you can just storm them to death with Machina or Forte. So that's kind of like our general strategy. All right, let's talk about some other stuff. Let's talk about this big old dinosaur. 8-drop 6/6. When this card is discarded, you can pay 1, select an enemy fall on the field, and deal it 3 damage. Really good. So when it's discarded for, you know, your Great Tree or anything like that, good stuff. And then you can also, when you have it on the field, it's a 8-drop 6/6, and you can banish a Natura and Great Tree on your field and deal 3 damage to each enemy follower on the field. And you can do that as many times as you want. It's not a once per turn thing. So the dinosaur just eats your trees and deals 3 damage to your opponent's board, which is pretty good. So if you get to 8, that's great. Well, how do we get to 8? Well, we did have the Oracle. We also have the Whirlwind Pteranodon. I was going to say Pteranodon. It's a 3-drop 3/2 Fanfare. You banish a tree from your field, and we get a play point, a max play point. Also, last words, we summon a tree. Good. So you want to have a tree out. You play your Pteranodon, and you get an extra play point. So if you can somehow turn 1 get a tree, turn 2 Oracle, and then turn 3 you can Pteranodon, and then banish the tree, get another play point. We can big ramp. So that's good. And then the final card of our deck is the Lightning Velociraptor, which is a 2-drop 3/2 Fanfare. Summon a tree. If Overflow is active for you, summon 2 instead and give it Rush. So pretty effective card. Helps us get our trees. And yeah, that's the deck. Like I said, overall, you kind of want to just do big ramps. You want to use your Valdane to do Shadow Corrosion to start chipping our opponent down. And then once they're low enough, we storm them out with a combination of Machina and Forte. Doing the Purgation's Blade is really good because we can kill those really big ward followers. And then, yeah. So yeah, I think this deck is actually quite good. As far as like the new decks go, this is definitely one of the better ones. I think Machina Abyss, this one, and Sword. I think, so Machina Abyss, I think, and then the 3 Naturan decks are all very good. Unfortunately, the Machina Rune and Haven are kind of like not quite as strong, but I think they're still fun enough, and if you're into those, I think they're still worth playing. So let's get on to some quick rapid fire upgrades. All right, so here we have my actual favorite deck in Shadowverse Evolve right now, and since Shadowverse Evolve is my favorite game, this is my favorite deck in any TCG. This is my Control Haven, and I have gone over to the dark side. We are not discard anymore. We are now Reanimator Control Haven. And I think you kind of have to do that for this format. As you saw, or maybe you didn't if you skipped ahead, but with all of the Naturan decks, all of them are running Trail of Light, and having effects that force our opponent to discard cards is just not good in this format. And if our opponent is playing Dragon, it's even worse because they have that T-Rex that also has an effect when it's discarded, and you don't want to play discard effects that aren't random. Random discard effects like Rule and I are pretty good because I don't get to choose, but the ones where they get to choose are very not good. So we have opted for the Reanimator package here. So for this deck and for the next two, since they are upgraded versions of previous decks, we're not really gonna go as deep as the new archetypes. So essentially I'll just talk about like the new additions. So yep, this is essentially, like I said, a Reanimator deck. We're gonna be reanimating Israfil. We still have Ginsetsu as a finisher, and we have Maruzensky and Rulanai as kind of like these mid-range threats that also disrupt our opponent. And we have the introduction of a really good new card that we'll be seeing a lot in Abyss going forward with De Blame, Duke and Dane, which is, well, let's go grab the base version. So the base version is a 2-drop 2/2, which is really solid. And then Fanfare, you bury the top card of your deck, and then for 1 Evo, you get a 3/3. And then on Evolve, you select an enemy fall on the field and deal it 2 damage. And then if you have Necrocharge 10, you deal it 4 instead. So it's a really, really good, efficient way to 2-for-1 our opponent's stuff. It's really good. You're going to see this card quite a bit in a lot of future decks. I did upgrade my Yuzukis to the new alternate art, but yes, we're still running Yuzuki. She's really good as a Reanimator target because, well, she just kills stuff when she comes into play. Or she's really good for the her own effect to deal 5 damage and discard her. Pretty solid. Death's Breath is our main way that we reanimate, because for 6 we can select any follower that costs 8 or less, and then we summon it, and then we give it ward. The go-to here is Israfil, so on 7 play points you can do this, get our Israfil, heal for 4, and then immediately evolve her, so we have a 10/10 with ward, and then on strike we deal 5 damage to each enemy follower, which is pretty good. So yeah, that's kind of our main Reanimator target. We're also running Colorful Cook in this deck. We're not a Naturan deck, but we are still running the Colorful Cook because we care about the tree, right? So it's a 1-drop 1/2 that just gives us value that helps us Necrocharge, right? Because that tree, if you skipped ahead, the tree just sticks around and you can cash it in for 1 and then draw a card and then discard a card. And that discarding a card is actually pretty solid because it just helps us fuel our Necrocharge. On Last Words, we have to discard a Natura card to draw a card. That's really unlikely to happen unless we have another Colorful Cook. It's mostly just to get that tree. It's just really, really good value. Hellblaze Demon is another staple for Abyss. It's a new 2-drop 2/3. Fanfare, you discard a card, then you look at the top card of your deck, or rather you put the top card of your deck into your EX area, and if it's a follower, it gets a permanent +1/+1, which is really good. And so basically fuels our Necrocharge, and we basically get a card that we can play from our EX later. Really, really solid. We're running Kawi now. Kawi's a 5-drop 5/5 with ward, and when he dies, we select any follower on the field, blow it up, and then we heal for X, where X is the attack. So yeah, just a really, really good and annoying card. Still running our Ginsetsu as our late game finisher. We have the Rulanais that I mentioned, the Maruzenskis that I mentioned, just great, great solid ways. These are all care about Necrocharge, which is good. We're definitely doing Necrocharge stuff. We have our soul conversions because just fantastic, cashing them in on anything like our Bellringer Angels or whatnot. We are running the 3 Bellringer Angels. We also run 3 Whispers of a Dream. This is just the new removal that just going to run in all the Abyss decks. Blows up a 3-drop, but also you mill 1 as well. So you basically, this card mills us 2 because it includes itself. So really good for Necrocharge. And then finally, we have Surefire Bullets, just to kind of round it out. So yeah, this is just a direct upgrade of the Control Abyss, and this is literally my favorite deck to play right now. Love it a lot, and you know, I've kind of splurged a little bit to upgrade a lot of these cards to make them foil. So yes, Control Abyss continues to be my personal favorite deck. Oh, did I go over the sleeves? I don't know if I went over the sleeves for this one. Check it out. They're the same as last time. Yeah. All right, let's check out the other two decks. All right, next up we have our Machina Rune. All right, so this one didn't really get a lot of additional cards, but we did have to like change it up because we also had the Curse Crafter ban. And so, well, hey, let's just go over our new version here of the deck. The big new cards that we added are Eleanor and her like support, basically. We have Curse Crafter as a one of now, and we have our 3 Merlins, and then we have Demon Callers as a full playset in the Evo deck. So essentially we're running Eleanor, Demon Caller, Merlin, and then Curse Crafter. And then we have my boys here for the Evo. Oh, for the sleeves, by the way, really got some really cute sleeves here. And then of course, been rocking these sleeves for a while for this particular deck, which is super cute. And so yeah, this is essentially your same Kuon deck, right? We're running Kuon, Curse Crafter. It's basically the same list. As you can see here, I'm still running Lamplit. I know some people have swapped this up for like the Delta Cannon. Honestly, it doesn't really matter all that much. The big additions are, I've been running the Full Bloom Panorama because it's a nice 2-for-1. Still running the Crimson Meteor Storm for board wipe potential. Yeah, I mean, like, the only other changes are the Eleanors, right? So we added the 3 Eleanors and the 3 Splendid Conjuries. So Eleanor is a simple 2-drop 2/2. Fanfare, you discard a spell and draw a card, which is really good for fueling both Kuon and Dshift. And then when you Evo her, she's a 3/3. On Evolve, you search your deck for a Splendid Conjury, put it into EX area, then shuffle your deck. And then if you have Spell Chain 10, it costs 2 less to play, which is great. And so what is Splendid Conjury? Splendid Conjury is a mage spell. 2-drop, select up to 3 enemy follows in the field and deal 3 damage divided between them. If there's an Eleanor, Cosmic Fauna field, deal 5 damage divided instead. So 2-drop to deal 5 damage is really good. And so she's just really efficient. Tutors for a spell. We also get another spell in our bin because the discard and draw. It's really good. So she basically just fuels us and does everything that we want to do. So yeah, I like it. And also she's really cute. So that's a definite plus. That's the only 2 changes for the Kuon list. And last but not least, we have Fairy Forest. Now this is a deck that was pretty well played in the last couple competitive metas, and it will be played pretty well here. We didn't get too many upgrades for this deck, but we did get a few. Of course, we're rocking the beautiful fairy sleeves. We have some more Latica sleeves because, of course, as well as some Crystallia Tia. I always mix them up. But yeah, so our leader of choice this time is Aiko Takamori. And of course, we need our fairies and our wisps for our fairy deck. Now, this deck, very similar to our Latica deck, or our Natura Forest. We're running more Blossom Spirits. This card's just absolutely fantastic, and like I said, it's a card, well, potentially you didn't watch that portion, but it's one of the new cards that lets you put either a Great Tree or a Fairy token into your EX area, which is fantastic. And then when she evolves, you get a little bit of 2-for-1 value. You can select an enemy follower, deal it 2 damage, and if you have at least 3 cards in your EX area, you deal it 4 damage instead. And there's a really good chance we're going to have some fairies in our EX area. So let's kind of quickly go over the new additions. There's not a ton, right? So we have the Blossom Spirit. It's Lily. Did I say Tia? It's Lily. It's Lily. This is the one. And we have Cynthia. So we have Cynthia, Divine Smithing. We are running 2 of the Anastasias, as well as 2 Goddess by the Sunlit Sea, which is just a really nice card to help increase our combo. And then, of course, we are running the 3 Blossom Spirit. So the Blossom Spirit and Cynthia are really well, there's the other one as well. So we essentially have 3 new cards that we're adding to this deck. We have the 3 Blossom Spirit that we already talked about. We have the 3 Cynthia. We'll talk about that in just a second. And then we have the 2 Divine Smithing. This is a pretty nice card. It's a 1-drop, and you can select 2 Pixie Followers in your field or EX area and give them +1 attack. And then combo, you get a draw card. So it's actually a really, really nice card to help fuel our combo, especially if we're doing like Anastasia stuff, which there's a good shot that we are. And then, like I mentioned, we are running 2 Goddess by the Sunlit Sea, which is very, very similar to Divine Smithing, which is why we're not running a full 3 of both. They're kind of sort of interchangeable, but not really. It's just a 1-drop that says draw card, and if there's a follower that costs 5 or more in your field, you recover a play point. So you can kind of get the, this one gives you a play point, this one pumps 1 of your, or 2 of your Pixie Followers, but they both essentially draw you a card for 1, which is really, really good. Playing this really early, it's still quite good, like a turn 1 or turn 2 if you have to, just to kind of like filter out your draws and get a better hand is like, not terrible. And then as I mentioned, we have the really big include of this deck is Cynthia, the Queen's Blade, 6-drop, 4/6. Fanfare, put a Fairy Wisp into your EX area. Those are the 0-drop ones, so it's really good. And then give each Pixie Follower on your field +2 attack. And then while this card is on your field, each Pixie token on our field has Storm and Assail. And then whenever a Pixie token is, she doesn't only does it to put tokens, by the way. I think I said card. Give each Pixie card on your field +2. She only gives each Pixie token +2. But anyway, whenever a Pixie token is put on your field, you give it +2 attack. So basically, she's going to give your Pixie tokens +2 attack, and then also Storm and Assail. So this is a nice little, not little, nice big finisher. Basically +2 to the squad, and we can just push an absolutely insane amount of damage. Her plus any combination of wisps, and then any of the squad pumpers that we have. So we have stuff like Amataz, we have Blessed Fairy Dancer, any of the ones that pump all of our fairies, we can do some nasty OTK shenanigans. And yeah, that's basically the fairy deck. It's more or less the same deck. If this is a deck that you were already playing, just need to pick up your Cynthias, maybe some Divine Smithings, and your Blossom Spirits. Blossom Spirits are good pickup because these are just kind of a generically good card that you'll be using in a few decks here or there. But yeah, fairies. And that's gonna do it. Thank you all so much for watching. Any people who watch this entire thing, bless you. It is gonna be another very, very long one. I can already tell. So thank you so much. And I appreciate all of the support for the Shadowverse Evolved content. Absolutely loving this game, loving building decks for every new set that comes out. I can't wait for every new set. It's just an awesome time, and Verdant Steel is potentially the best set yet. I'm absolutely loving it, and the decks are really fun to build. Pretty easy to build, actually, just with cards from Verdant Steel. So if you're watching this far and I haven't sold you enough, it's fantastic. And yeah. Thanks so much for watching. I appreciate all the support. Like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. And we'll see you next time. Bye.